glad that you're taking part in the live show. I just wanted to give you an update on what's happening with upcoming vehicles that will be reviewed on the channel. So the kicks just went out this past Saturday. A lot of interest in that little car, by the way. Just picked up today the Cadillac CT5V. Now, I don't want you to get too excited because typically when there was a V, it was like the super high performance big V8, kind of like the Corvette equipped Cadillac, like the CTS-V. It seems to me like Cadillac is using V for their one up from the base, and then Blackwing is going to be what the real previous Vs were. So a CT5V is coming up soon. Then an MX-5 Miata, classic car, in a couple of weeks. Also the GLE, the Mercedes-Benz GLE, is going to be coming up soon. And a car I'm interested in driving, the 2 Series, BMW 2 Series Grand Coupe. So the 2 Series in Canada has only been sold, and the same in the United States, only been sold as a 2-door coupe or convertible. Now they've brought in the European 4-door model. That's coming. Also, the new Alfa Romeo Giulia. I'm getting a chance to drive that. Then the Kia Seltos, the Honda Civic, the Trailblazer, and the Buick Encore. So that's what we have booked for the next little while. All right, we want to get into some pictures. Didn't get a lot of pictures this time around, but that's okay. If you want to send a picture, send it to zach@motormouth.ca, ZACK@motormouth.ca, or ZACK@motormouth.ca. So we had one person send pictures in, and that is Wee Furry Sporin. Also, his real name is Derek Taylor, but he goes by the handle Wee Furry Sporin. That's his Jaguar F-Pace that he got just this year with 22-inch wheels on it. That looks pretty badass. And he's also a watch guy as well. He's got a couple of GMTs here. I'm going to read them off here because I don't know them that well. A Fortis Flieger GMT and the Turduin GMT. Not really familiar with those brands, but they look nice. Obviously, you like the white faces or the white dials. Okay, let's get into the questions and see what's going on. Actually, Tech Pro said wrist check. Wrist check. Still wearing the new GMT that I got. Oh, by the way, I have another channel. It's called Watch This. Like watch this. It's all about watches. And I just put up a video about the new Omega that I got. This is Omega 300M GMT that was sold. I'm trying to find out what the actual production date was. Maybe just over 10 years. So that's my newest acquisition. So if you find my YouTube channel, Watch This, you'll find a review of that. When does the show start, guys? Well, you're on it. The show starts at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Monday, that's today, and Thursday. We'll do it then. Hey, Zach, great content. Thanks. You ever see a Yugo on your walks over there? Thank you. I think what you're referring to is my Instagram page is called motormouth_auto. Motormouth_auto. And Andrea's putting pictures like that up with her on them. She's already getting a lot of subscribers. And you can go to motormouth_Andrea and see what Andrea's posting. And I do a series on my I'll keep calling it a channel. It's not a channel. This is a channel. On my Instagram page, which is motormouth_auto. It's a series called Cars on My Walk. And I live very close to downtown Vancouver. Not right downtown, but very close. For those of you who know Vancouver, I live on the west side of Vancouver. And on my walk, we have a dog, and he goes out 2-3 times a day. I take my phone with me. I started doing this a couple of months ago. And we are surrounded by all of these really interesting cars. So we have quite a few JDM. Those are Japanese domestic market vehicles that were imported into Canada recently. So a lot of right-hand drive, unique-looking Japanese vehicles. One that went up today was a Honda Beat. I put that one on Instagram today. And then we have a lot of classic, beautiful cars here on the West Coast that survive because there's no salt. Then we have a lot of new money that's come into Vancouver, so there's a lot of fancy new cars. And yeah, we just seem to get a lot of really cool stuff. So follow along if you can. Motormouth_auto and Motormouth_Andrea. What is your opinion of the Lincoln Aviator and how does it compare with the Volvo XC90? I would suggest the Aviator and the XC90 are probably pretty good competition. The Volvo has been out since 2000. What year was it when they brought the latest Volvo out? 2015, I believe. So the car is 5 years old now and hasn't really been refreshed that much. So the Aviator, as you know, is brand new. Speaking of Lincoln, it's funny when I talk about a certain brand, sometimes a picture pops up. So that's not the Aviator. That's the Navigator. But yeah, the Aviator is basically the Ford Explorer platform made into a Lincoln. I didn't love the air suspension. I'm not an air suspension guy typically. I find it's what I call floaty boaty. It's too floaty for me. And then the Volvo has probably more traditional sort of European riding and dynamics. So if I was going to get an Aviator, I would get it without the air suspension, and you can do that. It's just basically adaptive shock absorbers and conventional springs, not the air suspension. So I would say driving dynamics, for me, I'd probably still go with the Volvo. Ricardo is back. Greetings from Lima, Peru. Well, nice to have you here, brother. Hey, Zach, looking to buy a 1617 Audi Q5. How reliable are these cars, and is there anything I should look out for? Thanks. I think that they're, for a luxury brand, they're kind of average. What you would expect for a high-end vehicle, that there's going to be some issues. It's not particularly old, so the car is 3 to 4 years old. If you're looking for, say, a 3-year-old 2017, a car will have come off lease and you're buying it used. It would then qualify for an extended certified pre-owned warranty, which is highly recommended. That's what I would buy. So look for a vehicle that's 3 years old, come off lease, and it's got a certified pre-owned warranty. That takes you out an additional 3 years. So you've got 1 year left on the bumper-to-bumper, sort of the conventional warranty, and then the CPO adds 2 years. So that gives you 3 years worth of coverage. So you could drive that car for 3 years and then find another one, and that way you're covered. If you're worried about, repairs popping up. So anything specifically about that one, I don't know anything specific about it, but I would suggest that it's probably pretty average for a premium luxury car. Eric's back. Hey, Eric. What are your thoughts on a used 15 GLK Blue Tech? Is the diesel motor reliable? Anything to watch out for? Asking for a friend. Cheers. Well, that is a 4-cylinder diesel. It's not a 6-cylinder diesel. The GLK used a 4-cylinder diesel. I think there have been some issues with that. I would go, and for all of these vehicles, whether it's the previous question about a Q5 or a GLK diesel, you're going to be able to find a lot more specific answers to those individual cars than I can give you generally. I would suggest that you go to a web forum that specializes in the case of the Audi and Audis, and in Mercedes-Benz for the GLK. The GLK, from what I understand, it was any issues were about the emissions, obviously, and keeping the car in proper emissions. What's the word I'm looking for? Compliance. So what happens with these diesels, if they're not running within what they're supposed to, then you can go into what's called limp mode, and then it has to go in and get serviced to make sure it's done. But to find out the specifics on that, please go to a specific web forum for a GLK. If I was buying a GLK personally, and I'm a huge diesel fan, you know that, I would probably just go with the gas. There's lots of them around. They've depreciated nicely. It's a really nice car to drive. They're not very big. The back seat's small. The cargo area isn't very big. But it would be a perfect car for a couple or empty nesters that don't need a lot of space. GLK, I really did quite like it. Huge Haggis is here. Hey, where you been? He's saying, Nate is saying, by the way, Huge Haggis' name is Nate. I have a fascination with taxis around the world. I think it's due to their rough utilitarian life. Given your travels, what's the best, worst cab you've ever been in? Well, I think I told this story a couple of weeks ago or recently. The worst drive I was ever in was when we were in Shanghai just over a year ago. It was a year ago, April. And the driver kept falling asleep behind the wheel. And Thomas Tetzlaff from Volkswagen, the PR guy, was sitting in the front seat because he was paying. So he got the front seat, kept on looking at it. He said, because the guy was in China, he didn't speak a word of English, and we speak no Chinese except for shan shan, which is thank you. I think that's how you say it. So I said, what the hell is going on up there? And he said, the guy's falling asleep. He keeps on falling asleep and then hitting the brake and then it was crazy. So that's the most memorable car ride. And then he would wake up, this guy, and start screaming, laughing. He would go, ha, 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 ha. He was trying to keep himself awake. And then he would fall asleep again. It was crazy. The nicest cabs I've ever been in are in Japan. So here's an interesting thing. When you at a hotel, for example, in Tokyo, you come outside of the hotel and there's all these cabs, and they all have doilies, like the white doilies that grandma would put on her chair. They're on the inside of these cabs. And then there's white curtains and things in the back. And I made the mistake of going to grab the door handle to open the back door. No, 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 no. You don't touch the door handle. The driver pushes a button and the door swings open. And then you get in and he pushes the button and the door shuts. So they have all of these Toyota, they look to me like old Toyota Crown cars. And I think from what I understand, they've been making the same model of Toyota forever, just basically for the cabs. But yeah, taxis in Japan are sort of next level. And the really cool vans, I'm trying to remember the name of the van, the really cool Toyota vans are like executive vans. We don't get them here. I had a lady drive me from downtown Tokyo to the airport. Just a beautiful on the inside with this big reclining chair. Fantastic. Raj is back with his Dwayne Johnson picture. I keep telling him he looks like The Rock there. I prefer unibody trucks and SUVs over body on frame. Does that make me a bad automobile enthusiast? Laugh out loud. No, because if you put a premium on handling and you put a premium on ride comfort, you're going to go to a unibody utility like this GLC is a perfect example. If you tow and if you go off-road or you drive over really rough terrain, then a body on frame truck is going to be beneficial. So the example I always use is a Toyota 4Runner. A Toyota 4Runner is a body on frame. And for those that don't know what that means, so they make a chassis, a classic chassis, which is made out of steel, like a ladder design, engine on the front, transmission, and then the differential at the back. And then they take the body and they bolt the body on top. That's a body on frame. Where these vehicles, the body and the platform is all integrated into one design. They're lighter, they handle better, they're stiffer, and that's the benefit. So basically when you're buying a body on frame, you're buying a pickup truck with a fancy top on it. Thanks, you have been watching. Hey Zach, love the channel. When did sunroofs become moonroofs? Yeah, that's a good point. Well, a moonroof, the real definition of a moonroof is it doesn't open. Right? And there are examples of that. There are vehicles that have a glass panel roof that doesn't open, or the whole thing sort of tilts up maybe a little bit and then goes back down. That's a classic moonroof. But yes, a sunroof is where the glass will open and you can get air inside. But it all gets muddled together, the terminology. I agree with you. I think when we started going to the big pano sunroofs, then they became called moonroofs. That's kind of when I think it was. SR is saying great looking watches. I think that's for Wee Furry Sporns watches that we had on here a moment ago. That's a very good question. Hey Zach, what makes a car feel sporty? And I've talked about this many times. A sports car doesn't have to be a fast car. A sports car doesn't have to be a powerful car. A sports car just needs to feel sporty. A perfect example of a sports car in its purest essence that you can buy brand new today and you know what I'm going to say, is an MX-5 Miata. This is a car that is low to the ground, it's lightweight, it's got just enough power to have fun, it's got an open air top, it's got a willing engine, great transmission, really nice clutch feel, fantastic steering. And when you drive that, you feel like $1,000,000. And it's not the most powerful. It certainly isn't the quickest to 100 kilometers an hour or 60 miles an hour. But you feel every little bit of what's going on around you. The opposite can be true. I had the new M5 a year or so ago, and I didn't give it a glowing review because I said, you know, this is really fast, and it's very, very fast. But after about a week, I'd be bored. It's got no soul to it. It's just really quick. That was the major knock against the Nissan GTR when it first came out. It drove like an appliance. It was very fast. I had fantastic traction, all-wheel drive, all of that. Loads of computer aids and electronics to make you go around a circuit as quickly as possible. But not fun. It wasn't any fun at all. But if you're wanting to know the technical aspects, a lot of what you feel when you drive a car isn't in your hands, which is the steering wheel. It's a big part of it. So steering feel is very important. A lot of it is through your backside, through the seat, through the chassis, into your body, through the bottom of the car. Now you marry that with the steering feel, and then you get a nice balanced car, like you get a car and you take it into the corners and it's just set up really nicely and it handles very well. That's what makes a car feel sporty. And then you layer on top of that the sound of a car. I don't care what you say, you can put me in a Tesla that goes as fast as you can say from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour or 0 to 60 miles an hour. It doesn't have the sound. You know, you give me a beautiful sounding Mustang GT. It might not be as fast, but boy, it sure sounds sporty. Eric is back. I don't know about Vancouver, but here in Montreal, there's tons of Toyota Tercel still circulating around, mostly the forest green model. My mother-in-law had one of those. I'm not sure if it was forest. It was like the bluey green. Great cars. That's what I learned to drive manual on, the first Tercel. And my aunt drove it, and she named all of her cars. So the first car I remember her naming, they had a Volvo, and his name was Victor Volvo. And then she got inherited a Peugeot from her mother and father, and his name was Pierre Peugeot, of course, French name. So Victor Volvo, Pierre Peugeot, and then there was Tommy Toyota, and that was a Toyota Tercel, and she was the one who taught me how to drive standard. By the way, my Aunt Catherine, fantastic driver, and I remember bombing down the Cottage Road, which was gravel, like an old logging road, in Victor Volvo, and sort of doing slides like rally slides around the corners in a Volvo. You couldn't get more Swedish than that. But yeah, those old Tercels are great cars. Any idea if the next generation WRX will have a hatchback option? We have to wait. First of all, we got to wait to see the new WRX. I appreciate your enthusiasm, but this is something that drives me crazy. Like a car, will there's be a rumor of something, and I don't know anything other than what you know. So let's just get the car shown, and then we can ask all those questions. Emmett Kelly. Hey, Motormouth, big fan. I appreciate you being here. That's very nice of you. Someone just gave me a thumbs down. Was that you for saying that? By the way, you've got 130 plus people on here and 44 thumbs up. You guys can do better. More thumbs up, please. I think I have to send Jack a text about my beer. My son Jack letting me down. He's going to be out of the will if he doesn't keep it up. Dude, comma, it's beer o'clock, exclamation mark. See how long that takes. Let's start the timer. Let's do that. Let's start the timer and see how long it takes him. Stopwatch, go. Let's see how long that takes. 2017 CRV touring car battery failure, 3 in 3 years. Is there an issue with batteries in the way CRV accesses the battery. Dealership says that the issue may be due to low mileage on vehicle. Well, that can happen. I mean, if it depends. There's some parasitic draw on the battery, so that is happening. So the vehicle is grabbing some juice from somewhere, and it could just be the battery. But here's the thing: is if you drive very short distances, the crank power that needs to turn the engine over, and if you don't drive it for long enough, come on in. That was 48 seconds when I sent you the text.
Yeah, I know.
Well, what's going on? How come you forgot?
I don't know. I just forgot.
Okay, say hi to everybody, Jack. I'll get out of the way.
Hi, everyone.
So, what's going on in sports?
Suns are 6-0.
Speak up, because
the Suns are 6-0.
Yeah.
And the Canucks are playing.
And
Blues.
And how did the Leafs do?
They lost 3-0. As expected.
And then when are the Canucks playing?
Wednesday.
And what about the
Blackhawks are on
Blackhawks are when?
Tuesday against Vegas.
Tuesday, okay.
And
but we have Habs fans here. A lot of people from Montreal. How are the Habs doing?
Well, they beat the Penguins.
Beat the Penguins. That's a big
against
deal.
The Flyers. One more thing. The draft lottery.
The draft lottery.
And the Rangers won.
But
there's a video of the balls going around in the thing, and the Leafs are like a half centimeter away from shooting up the tube and getting the first pick.
So the Leafs almost got it?
Like this.
Like this much?
This close. Like,
really?
So close. It was ridiculous.
All right.
I'd be pissed if I was a Leafs fan.
Yeah. Thanks, Jack. You're a good boy. There he goes. Jack, everybody, bringing me a Stella. That's good stuff. So back to your CRV losing battery. So it takes a lot to turn an engine over, and if you continue to deplete the battery and don't drive it enough, then the battery will run down. Now, I wouldn't say that the battery should fail. It might be something like, here's the thing is, do you live where you have a garage where you park inside? And if that's the case, you can get a battery tender. I wonder if there's one here. Hang on a sec. Yeah, here's one here. You can get a battery tender like this, and it's a trickle charger. This was given to me when we got our Cayenne from Porsche, the dealership. Porsche Center, Vancouver. Thank you for the prop. And so, oh no, that's not what I wanted. That's not the one I wanted. Anyway, it's like this. This goes in your cigarette lighter, and this keeps the battery at a consistent level. It's not going to really charge it. It just keeps it at a certain level. Okay? So, now that's bugging me. Where is it? So there you go. That's what I would do. If you have access to a plug that you can plug it in when you go to sleep at night and unplug it. And now it's a bit of a drag having to do that, but it will certainly keep your battery at a more consistent level. There is some parasitic loss that's happening. You shouldn't have to replace the battery every year. You just have to make sure that you get it charged up more often and drive it more. Huge Haggis, I'm having a Stella as well. Nice. Thank you. Alexandra is saying Habs. Yep, Habs. It's a big deal here in Canada. Hockey's back. I should add the Habs eliminated the Penguins on Crosby's 33rd birthday. Yeah, that's tough. For good old Sid the Kid. Oh, we have a super chat. I didn't even see it. I apologize. What are we drinking tonight? I'm having Pilsner. Slightly milder than the Pilsner Urquell. Cheers. Bitterburger. You were having a Stella, but I'll drink to that. So this is the Slip and Sam, the Sip and Slam. I sip, you slam the like button. All right. Would you compare the G80 to an A7? Why are G80s priced as high as GV80s? Any news on your lost camera? The camera's long gone. I since bought two cameras. I bought this camera off my good friend Brian Chow from Everyday Reviews. Now, it's an older camera, but it's nice to have an extra. So I bought this camera, which is a Panasonic Lumix. And then I bought a video camera, a Canon video camera for most of my shooting. So I have two new cameras. But, yeah, the old camera's gone. It was a great camera, but it forced me to go 4K, which is not so bad. So now the GoPros are in 4K, The video camera's in 4K, so a lot of the videos that are out now are in 4K. So, would you compare the G80 to an A7? Why are G80s priced as high as GV80s? I don't know what is going on with Genesis and the pricing of their new vehicles. So the GV80 pricing came out in the Canadian market anyway. And I think it's going to be, I mean, I think the vehicle is fantastic. I think I've been saying that for ever since I saw it at the Toronto Auto Show. I think it looks great. The materials are great. But I don't see how you can charge $80,000 for a GV80 to get a third row of seats. That makes no sense to me. And the G80 pricing came out a few weeks ago, and they've jacked it way up. Now, the thing is, to get people to buy a Genesis over a Mercedes, an Audi, or a BMW was the fact that they offered more content at a lower price. Now they seem to be charging the same price. So a Genesis doesn't have the cachet of the three-pointed star from Mercedes-Benz or the beautiful sleek lines of an Audi A7. I just don't think they're there yet. And I would have continued on the model that they introduced and that did very well with the G70. That car offered a lot of value and it was much less than its competition and offered a lot of content. That's what they should have stuck with. I don't get it. Hey, Zach, love your stuff. With the Suzuki Jimny not available in North America, do you know why? Do you know any similar size of capable car? Do you think the Jimny should come to Canada and sell well? I guarantee you if they brought the Jimny here, it would sell well. I don't believe, and I don't know for sure, that it would pass North American crash tests and maybe not even North American emissions test. It's just a cool looking little vehicle. I remember when I first saw it for the first time, it was a year ago, April, March, whenever it was. I was at the Geneva Motor Show, and it is just so cool looking. It would sell incredibly well. If you don't know what a Suzuki Jimny is, have a look. It's just so cool. I would love if that Suzuki, maybe like they did years ago with General Motors, that Suzuki would license the Jimny and sell it maybe as a Chevrolet like they used to do with the Asuna Sunrunner. The Chevy Tracker was a Suzuki Sidekick, and then they sold it as a Chevrolet. So I would hope there would be an option to do that, but I don't think the way it sits that it would pass the crash test for North America, and that's probably why. Andrea, thumbs up, sunglasses. We have to, we'll have to get Andrea down here. I'll tell Andrea. The boys want you to say hi. We do that. See how long it takes her. It took 48 seconds for Jack to get here. Come and say hello to your fans on the live chat. See what happens. Okay, let's go to the stopwatch. Reset and start. See how long that takes. Andrew's doing a fantastic job, knocking it out of the park with the video reviews. And you know what? We have done reviews over the years, the two of us. But I used to get so caught up in traveling all the time and going to these launches of cars all over North America and around the world. So because of COVID, it's forced us to sort of recalibrate and rethink what we're doing. And I think it's been a really good win. I mean, we've made, we're doing more videos. Andrea's doing a fantastic job. And we're kind of getting our groove on and learning what works and what doesn't work. And I got to tell you, the feedback on the channel, on the comments, and on the Instagram is really strong. You said you emailed Toyota about the Sienna review. Any updates? No, they never got back to me. I did get an email about the Toyota RAV4 Prime. The Prime tomorrow, they're having a press conference. Oh, hi.
Text.
Oh, yeah, your fans wanted to... Here, have a seat.
Have a seat?
Yeah, have a seat.
I feel like I'm... Oh, wow. I'm right in on it.
So here, let's just see what people want you to say.
Oh,
See if anything comes in. Any questions for Andrea?
I can't hear.
Oh, wait. No, you're gonna
Oh,
read
I'm
it.
going to read them.
I'm gonna get something. Hang on a sec.
Okay. Longtime fan here. I think that's for Zach, isn't it?
Okay, to make you look like you're doing the reviews.
Oh, yeah.
People
about
always
that?
say, "How come Andrea always
These are
wears?"
my other glasses. These are not the ones I usually wear.
People are always saying, "How come Andrea always wears sunglasses?"
I know. I like them. I like wearing sunglasses, but it's okay for inside. I'm not always wearing sunglasses. And I just want to say, anybody who's followed me on Instagram, thank you so much.
What is it again?
It is motormouth _Andrea. Underscore Andrea.
TK Porsche says, hiya Andrea.
Hiya, TK Portia. Hello. You guys are all so nice. What a great live chat.
You know, one thing Andrea was really worried about when we started doing these reviews is that people wouldn't be nice and say mean things.
Yeah, that can happen when you're hiding behind a computer, right? Am I right?
Have you had enough torture?
Sure. Guess what I'm making for dinner tonight?
Tacos.
Chicken. But it is chicken tacos.
You guys are a great pair.
Aw, thanks. Yeah, so chicken. Everybody's welcome. No.
Chicken tacos. Okay.
Okay, see you later.
Oh, Alexandra wants to know the most important feature of a car for you.
Oh, most important feature, I would say the infotainment center.
Really?
Yeah.
Not the way it looks?
Well, the way it looks, but if it's easy to use. Are you talking about exterior, interior?
Well, we'll have to find out.
Yeah.
There you go.
But
Okay.
comfortable seats are great, right?
And you like a firm ride.
A little stitching.
Andrea likes...
Did you say with our hybrid, I didn't get a firm ride, I got a smooth ride?
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. Bye now. All right. So Nick is saying he can't hear. I can't hear? What? Sorry, guys. We are jumping around a little bit. Hey, it's a live show. I'm going to keep it loose. So I did email Toyota Canada back to that Sienna. And they haven't got back to me on when that's happening. However, tomorrow they're doing a press conference for the pricing of the RAV4 Prime. Now, we won't be able to disclose that until later in the week, I believe. But this week is when Toyota is going to announce the pricing of the RAV4 Prime for the Canadian market. So we'll have to wait and find out on that. And hopefully we're going to get an update on the other vehicles as well. Okay, where were we? Hey, Zach, for a first-time U.S. visitor to Canada, is there a good city area for good restaurants, interesting history, buildings, and English speaking? Thank you. Well, I would suggest that you do not discount going to Belle-Provence, which is Quebec. Now, if you're staying in the tourist areas, you'll have no problem getting by speaking English in Montreal or Old Quebec City. But if you're looking for great restaurants, great history, beautiful buildings, and wonderful culture and nice people, I would go to Montreal, and Old Quebec City. They're some of the oldest parts of North America. And even though it isn't traditionally an English-speaking area, it's French, of course, because it's Quebec. In the tourist areas, the hotels, the restaurants, and all of that, you will be able to get by speaking English. If you go outside of Quebec City into the rural areas, not so much. But yeah, I would go there. I would also go for history. You could go down to, I think that one of the most beautiful parts of the world I've ever been to is to St. John's, Newfoundland, and to the Avalon Peninsula and to Newfoundland. It's just absolutely spectacular. So I'm not sure where you plan on coming to in or where in the U.S. you are. If you're on the East Coast, I would go to Quebec City and Montreal, and you could also go to Newfoundland. All right, I got to find out where I was. So that's a no to seeing any Yugos, not the Chinese knockoffs, but actual Yugos from Yugoslavia. It's Beck's time. Yeah, no, I haven't. I don't think I've ever seen a Yugo. Well, wait, did we see Yugos? I'm trying to remember. I don't remember seeing Yugos in North America. Vanilla Donut, any chance to read info on the Cadillac Lyriq? What are your thoughts so far? Well, first of all, somebody actually made a comment about the Lyriq and said, it's still sort of stodgy old Cadillac. And I had to take sort of some. I don't agree with that at all. If it was 10, 15 years ago, and I showed you the Lyriq and said, this is the car of the future, your head would have popped off and you would have gone, oh my God, look at that thing. It's sleek, it's sexy, it's stylish, it's got a fantastic looking interior, it's got a big ass battery, it's got a 100 kilowatt hour battery, it's everything you would want in a luxury vehicle, and I think wonderfully designed. I am a big fan of Cadillac design. We have the Cadillac CT5V. Andrea, I came home with it this afternoon. Andrea grabbed it and she took off to take some pictures. So follow along at motormouth_Andrea. She'll have pictures on there. And I put pictures up as well. But she puts more, she looks better in them. When she came back, I said, well, what did you think of the CT5? She goes, I absolutely love it. I love the way it looks and I love the interior. So I think if you're a fan of Cadillac, which I am, I think that nobody else does cars that look like Cadillac. And I think the big wraparound screen for the instrument cluster and the infotainment system, all one big screen, is the future of what we would have thought of 15 years ago. You would have thought that is the future, and it's coming. Unfortunately, it's still 2 years away. And I don't know why car brands do this. They show you a car. Oh, but by the way, you won't be able to see it for another 2 or 3 years. Like, why bother? I don't get it. Here's a good question. And yes, I think it is true. Are V8s, especially in sedans, going extinct soon? Well, it depends on the size of the sedan. For example, in a big S-Class Mercedes, no, I don't think so. I think that they're going to have V8s for a little bit longer. But you start looking at cars like the C63S, which is the Mercedes C-Class, which has a V8 now. From what I understand, the next one isn't going to be a V8. So we're going to start to see them disappearing. But it's not all bad news, because with turbocharging and a smaller, especially 6-cylinder, you can get V8 power and performance out of that, no problem. In fact, turbocharging makes up a lot of the deficits of a V8. You get much better mid-range torque out of a turbocharged engine than you do out of a naturally aspirated. Excuse me. What are your thoughts on the Audi Q8? I like the Q8. Great looking vehicle. It's big. It's not a small vehicle. My problem with it is it's expensive. Holy crap, it's expensive. So basically, with a Q8, you lose the third row of seats that you get in the Q7. It's the same wheelbase. They make it a little bit smaller, a little bit sleeker, sort of drop the roof, make the windshield different, but they charge more money. The base engine, I don't think, is the right engine, to be honest with you. I think with 335 horsepower in the Q8, I think it could use more power. But my whole thing with the Q8 is I think it's a beautiful looking car. It's just really expensive. Did you catch the Mark 8 GTI reviews that came out from Europe? No, I haven't seen those. When an automaker gives you a car to review and you're critical of it, do they stop giving you cars to review? I've never had that happen. I know that it has happened. But some reviewers will just say kind of malicious things, and they're not really based in fact. If you criticize a vehicle and you can back it up and say, well, this is what I think of it, and here's why, automakers really don't have much that they can say about that. And here's what's interesting. You get a couple of beers in the PR people at an event, and you start talking about their products, and they will grudgingly admit that they do have shortcomings and what you're saying about them is true, and they know that they have to work on certain things. Like a lot of the stuff that is criticized about vehicles, you know, these brands know it. And here's the acid test, I always say, is when the vehicle is going to be refreshed and updated, will the complaints of the previous model be addressed? And often they are, which proves that the criticism was real. For example, the CRV, the last generation, they brought it out and they got rid of the volume knob, and all the reviewers jumped on Honda, me included, for getting rid of that. Well, sure enough, a year or so later, they brought it back because the criticism actually worked. But I've never had, I've never ever had a car company complain about my review. I've had a dealership complain, but I don't. Dealerships, all they care about is, you know, selling cars. They don't want any bad news. If you did a review for a dealer, they wouldn't want one negative thing said. Car companies know when they give us these cars, we have the ability to say good and bad things. Zach, Omega wristwatch check, please. I already did it, but I'll do it again. It's the Great White I got a couple of weeks ago. I really like the Great White. Hey, Zach, have you seen the recent Palisade and Telluride sales numbers in Canada? Interestingly, the Palisade is outselling the Telluride in the complete opposite in the States. A lot of this is just due to availability and where the cars are made. I believe, I'm trying to remember which one. I think that the Palisade is made in the United States and the Telluride is made in Korea, from what I remember. And then the allocation of the cars. It's funny that you should mention this because I had a phone call this morning, with the PR people from Kia Cars Canada. And I said, congratulations on record sales the last 2 months. And I asked the question, where are we with the availability of the Telluride? And they said, we knew that specific trims and colors, people were in long waiting lists to get them. They're fixing that, and the availability now, the delay to get one is about 6 weeks, which still isn't, you know, you want to be able to drive in on a Saturday and buy your car and drive it home that day. Well, that's not the case with the Telluride or the Palisade. But it all comes down to availability, and well, I'm trying to remember which one is made in the States. I'm pretty sure it's Palisade, and they have the capability, obviously, to get more product into the market faster. And then you have what allocation is being made for Canada versus the United States. So these things all have an effect. Hey, Zach, opinion on the CT5V. The chassis seems to have big potential. I like Cadillacs. I'm a big fan. I know a lot of people think you know, but here's a perfect example. All the time people say, you know, you're just a Porsche fan or whatever. It's like, if you watch this live chat, I go on and on and on about the fact that there are domestic vehicles that are first class, that they make in North America, designed by North Americans, that are just as good as anything that's out there in the market. It's just that people won't give them a try. And I truly believe that General Motors is the one company, in my opinion, that is producing excellent products. And the Cadillac, I think, is proof of that. I think this new CT5 is a beautiful looking car. I love the design of it. Wait till you see it. We're going to shoot it this week. It'll be out in a week or so. But a beautiful looking car. I think it's great. Here's something very interesting. Raj is saying, I just sold my overpriced condo in Toronto, moving to a house with some grass. That is a trend. There's a couple of trends we're seeing. People don't want to get on the bus. They don't want to get on the subway. They don't want to get in an elevator with other people. And they want to have some space because of COVID. So, a couple of things. People are buying inexpensive little cars. Sales, so it's quite interesting. I'm going to get to your point in a moment, Raj. Sales of subcompact cars over the last few years have been absolute in the crapper, to the point where all of these brands have stopped making the cars available. We're getting rid of the Accent, we're getting rid of the Yaris, the Fiesta's gone, the Fit is disappearing, so on and so on. A couple of cars that have remained the sales have been so strong because they're some of the cheapest cars. The Chevy Spark, the little Chevy Spark, and the Mitsubishi Mirage. Cheap as chips, cheap and cheerful. Don't cost much to buy, certainly don't cost much to run and operate. The sales of these cars have just shot through the roof ever since COVID hit, or where sales started up again, because there's going to be a whole lot of people that don't want to get on transit, and they're like, I'm going to get me a cheap and cheerful little car, and they're going out and buying a Chevy Spark and a Mitsubishi Mirage. I would think that there would be a brand that might just say to themselves, you know what, maybe we'll hold off on getting rid of some of those cars. So back to Raj's point, the other part of this is, are people going to want to live in close proximity in a condo, or are they going to want to move out and get a little space with their own backyard and stuff? I think that's a trend we're going to see with COVID as well. You're not going to get people going to high-rise office buildings anytime soon. They did a calculation of some of the big towers, say in downtown Toronto. It would take several hours, due to limiting how many people can go in an elevator at one time, to get like 50% of the people into the building every day, and several hours to get them out. So who's going to want to go onto the 48th or 55th floor of a building when it could take you 40 minutes to get your turn onto the elevator? I don't see it. Anyway, congratulations, brother. Once you own a house, you won't go back to a condo. Maybe when you downside later in life. Hey, it's Amr from Calgary. Big fan. Do you think Jeep Wrangler resale values will suffer with new competitors in the class, the Bronco smaller Land Cruiser? Or smaller Land Cruiser. I don't know what you meant, the smaller Land Cruiser. No, I don't think so, because first of all, the Bronco's got to get here. And Wrangler sales have continued to be very strong over the years, and it comes down to the limited availability in the used marketplace. For those that are not aware, the Wrangler in the Canadian market has won 8 years in a row, maybe 9 years in a row now, has the vehicle with the best resale value, because there's people that are willing to pay to get one in the used market. Plus, a lot of the ones that come in that are traded in, that are under 5 years old, they end up getting shipped to the United States. So I don't think that trend is really going to end. It could certainly deflate the values a bit, but here's what I've said about Bronco. Looks cool. I get why people are excited. I want to drive it, because driving it will be the acid test. Jerome is back. Hey, Zach, which one are you looking forward to the most? The WRX or the Mark 8 Golf R? The Golf R for sure. Absolutely. 2 questions if you have time. Civic or a WRX? Also, do you know John Codigan from Auto Expert Australia? No, I don't know him. Thoughts on him? Thanks much, Zach. Sorry, I don't know him. Which do I prefer, a Civic or a WRX? So it depends on which Civic it is. The WRX is an old platform and an old car. And I drove one about a year ago, a brand new one. And it kind of left me cold. Like, it's got an old interior. I don't know. It just seems kind of tired. So, yeah, when the new one comes, that'll be exciting. What's your take on Hyundai's new Ioniq standalone brand? Yeah, I forgot to mention that. It was announced today that Ioniq is going to be an electric line of vehicles. So you've got Hyundai, you've got Genesis, which is the luxury division, and then you've got Ioniq. And I read the press release, even saw the pictures. They had renderings of sort of, concept electric vehicles. And if you scratched out Ioniq and you put Volkswagen ID in there, their game plan for electrification is almost identical to Volkswagen's, and good for them. I think that the fact that they are going to have a dedicated electric nameplate, yeah, I think it's a smart move. Ioniq, it certainly is catchy, so why not? But if you look at the press release that came out today about it, It's almost exactly the same playbook as Volkswagen. I would have guessed you learned how to drive on a Duesenberg. Well, the Eric, that's not very nice. I think you're saying I'm old. I think that's what you're saying. I'm an old guy. Zach, what are the odds Toyota brings back the Previa nameplate, small micro-size crossover? Who knows? Could be. Oh, we got a super chat. Ryan is here. What are some vehicle ideas that have seat more like a chair? When sitting, my knees need to be at the same level as my hips to avoid pain. The only thing that I can think of is a full-size pickup or SUV. Aha! You're missing one major category. So what you're talking about, and this is a real problem. So when you sit in a car, you sit low, so your hip point is low and your knees are up. And then you're driving, kind of with your knees up. I have a Toyota Tacoma pickup truck, and really bad for this. You kind of sit very low, and a lot of people complain about it. The vehicle that is going to give you the most upright position, where you're driving sort of and your body is at 90 degrees, is going to be a minivan. Easy to get in and out of, and a great seating position. So a van is going to let your legs hang down and not going to be with your knees up. So it might not be the answer you want, but that for sure is going to be the case, is a minivan. Donald is saying, I had $1,000 deposit on a G80, picked the colors, etc. When the pricing came out, I was flabbergasted. I just picked up a new BMW 340i. Just love it. Genesis has blown it. I don't get it. I think that Genesis has been reading their own press material too much. I mean, all of the hype that went into the G70 winning North American Car of the Year. I mean, a great car, but it was a value. You got a great value with that car. So I'm not sure if you've seen the pricing. I'd have to dig it up on my email. But the pricing for the G80 is, as you point out, there are prestige brands with a lot of history that will offer you a vehicle with great resale value. And what the big German brands are particularly good at are killer interest rates. And they put the golden handcuffs on you. Once you've leased a BMW, an Audi, or Mercedes, they make it really easy to step out of one car and into another, because that's how they keep you in the brand. What's a bigger rite of passage accomplishment? Purchasing your first Rolex or purchasing your first Porsche? Well, I did it the other way around. I bought the Porsche, and then when I sold the Porsche, my first Porsche that I owned was a 1997 Carrera S, a 993, arena red with black interior. Beautiful car. When I sold it right during the Great Recession in 2009, I think it was. And yeah, it was in 2009, and I got all my money back. But I said to Andrea, who I said, I'm keeping some money to buy a Rolex, because I'd never owned a real prestige watch before. So I sold the Porsche, and I kept some money, and I bought the Rolex. And then a few years later, I bought another 993. I bought another 1997, but this time it was a Carrera 4S. And that car appreciated in value. It more than doubled in value in the 3 or 4 years that I owned it. And the same is true for the Rite Prestige watch. If you buy Rite with a Rolex, for example, you will always do well when you go to sell it. And if you buy Rite with a Porsche, you will get a good chunk of your money back. I'm not, like, the days of being able to buy an air-cooled 911 and have it go way up in value, they've kind of stopped for now, but they're always a good idea. So what is a bigger rite of passage? I think buying a Porsche, for sure. That's a big deal. Hugh Haggis is saying, the Micra is dead. Long live the Micra. If you go on to the Nissan Canada website, they still have new stock. So it lists the Micra for sale, but it's a 2019. So they obviously bought a lot of stock. and they're going to sell them out, and then they're all gone. So this is pretty sure the Telluride is built in the USA. Yeah, I'm confused about which one it is, but one of them is and one isn't. Did Kia mention anything about the new K5 availability in Canada? Yes, Dave, we had a conversation. I was mentioning a moment ago. I had a call with the Kia PR department today, and we were talking about the K5. And there is going to be an announcement about the car for the Canadian market. Look around Labor Day, okay? Around the end of August, beginning of September, they're going to have some information. I know what it is. I'm just not allowed to share it with you, okay? It's coming up soon. Carlos is here. Sorry I missed the super chat. Hi, Zach. MX-5 with turbo makes sense to pay extra. Yes. If you can afford it, Carlos, I think what you're meaning is the CX-5. Yes. Did I say MX-5? CX-5 with turbo makes sense to pay extra. Yes. If you can afford the CX-5 with the turbocharged engine, I strongly encourage you to get that option. There's 2 videos, I believe, on the channel. Andrea and I did them both. One was when it first came out a year or so ago, and then one we just did within the last couple of months. So go on the channel and do a search, and I strongly encourage you, if you're in the market for a CX-5, if you can afford the turbo, do it. Do you have any insider info on the Armada coming to Canada? I don't have anything specific on that. I apologize. Hey, Zach, just saw the picture of the Ferrari 328 on your computer, my dream car. Jealous you got to drive it. Enjoy the Stella. I'm having a single malt. Cheers. Nicely done. Well, what are you having? What single malt are you having? My favorite single malt, well, it's not cheap, but it's not like super crazy expensive, but it's kind of like the one I always have in the house is Oban, O-B-A-N, Oban, from Oban, the town of Oban. And don't say Oban, because it's not Oban. If you're Scottish, it's Oban. But that's my favorite. Zach was quite critical and blunt about the Ford Explorer, and in my mind, rightfully so. Honest reviews get more followers. Well, thank you for that. I was criticized for a while about being too soft. It's been nice having Andrea on the channel helping me with these, because it's much easier to do the point counterpoint. Somebody likes something, somebody doesn't. It actually is easier to do. Hi, Zach. Would you believe RAV4 was the top-selling vehicle in Australia last month? It's now more popular than Corolla and other top-selling cars. Well, that's the case here in Canada. Corolla and Civic and others were all the best sellers for passenger vehicles in Canada for decades. Ever since I started reviewing cars in the early 90s, it was compact cars. And in the last 5 years, its utilities have taken over. And that's the case here in Canada. The RAV4 is the best-selling passenger vehicle in Canada, if you take pickup trucks out of it. Now, I would love to know, Hamed, what's the best-selling ute in Australia? Because if you're not aware, in Australia, they love the pickup trucks. They're called utes, and they're just so cool looking. Stefan is saying, in Montreal, at least half of the city talks English. That's true. So what we're talking about a moment ago is a great place to visit in Canada. If you've never been and you want food, culture, buildings, and all that, Montreal for sure, Old Montreal, and Quebec City as well. Thoughts on a used Cadillac. Was looking at an ATS or an XTS. Which is better? The XTS is a front-wheel drive bias car. So that's basically like the Buick LaCrosse sort of platform. Wouldn't be my choice. It's a big car, though. I mean, if you want a big car, that's certainly one way to go. The ATS is the real European handling sort of alternative. Okay, so people who maybe wanted to have a small little sort of rear bias, either rear wheel drive or all wheel drive car, the ATS is a fantastic product. The depreciation on these things is pretty severe. So as a used buy, there's probably some pretty good deals out there. But I would go ATS over XTS. XTS is, I'm just trying to remember. XTS is the big sedan. I'm pretty sure it is. 14 Venza V6 all-wheel drive for $23,500, or Toyota 4Runner SR5 for $28,000. Which one will hold better value when the next gen 4Runner comes out? A 4Runner all day long is a way better investment. I have a neighbor who lives across the street. I've actually two neighbors who live across the street. They both have the same vehicle, the Toyota 4Runner, and theirs is like 98, I think. The one neighbor, it was in an accident and they wrote it off. His daughter was driving it and she got into a fender bender, but because the vehicle was so old, they wrote it off. My other neighbor has a black one. I think it's an SR5 from the late 80s. People are still throwing huge money at these things. So this thing's like 22 years old. It will still fetch probably $8,000 used. So if you're wanting just pure resale, a 4Runner is always going to be highly sought after. Plus, we don't know exactly what the next 4Runner is going to be. There might be something people don't like about it. So then people might really want to get the older one or the existing one. Okay, we are now past an hour. So thanks to everybody that's here. Don't forget to sign up at Car Cost Canada. Use the promo code MotorMouth to find all the deals that are happening out there. And thanks to everybody that comments and likes and does all of that. I surely appreciate it. As you heard Andrea said, we're going to have chicken tacos tonight. So looking forward to that. I will see you back here on Thursday. Same channel, same time. That's 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We'll talk to you then. Have a great night, everyone.